Graphically solving factored forms of quadratic functions. When sketching graphs, knowing the x-intercepts and the vertex are very helpful. As a result, we're going to want to solve for these if possible. Example 1 says sketch the graph of f at x is equal to 2x squared plus 4x plus 12. State the domain and range. Right? So if we look at it, we've got our x's. So this side of the equation would be 2x squared plus 14x plus 12. And on this side, that's in the same position as our y. So that f at x would be like our y. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look for those x-intercepts. Those x-intercepts occur from our factored form. So taking our equation, first thing we're going to do is look for a greatest common factor, and we can divide everybody by 2. So putting the 2 out front, 2x squared divided by 2 is 1x squared. 14 divided by 2 is 7, and we still have our x. 12 divided by 2 is 6. We now have our 1 in front of our x squared, so we are looking for two numbers that multiply to give us positive 6, add to give us positive 7. Looking at our factors of 6, we have 1 times 6, 2 times 3, 1 times 6, if they're both positive, will get us that positive 7 when we add them. So using our brackets, we have y equals our 2 still out front. Now our 2 sets of brackets. We're going to go x at the front of each set, and then one of each of these two numbers in, so plus 1 and plus 6. So now we have it in factored form. From here, we can find our x-intercepts. Remember, that is when each bracket is equal to 0. What x value will cause that? So x plus 1 equals 0, and x plus 6 equals to 0. So currently we're adding 1, so subtracting 1 from both sides. We have x, 1 minus 1 is 0, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. And on this one, we're adding 6, so subtracting 6 from both sides. We have x, 6 minus 6 is 0, 0 minus 6 is negative 6. So we have x-intercepts at negative 1 and negative 6. If we were to go and sketch a graph of this, what we do know at this point is that the graph crosses the x-axis there, and it crosses it here. We don't know if the graph goes this direction, if the graph goes this direction, whether it goes really down low and up high, whether it goes really high and then down low. So this is where the vertex is going to help us out. So we're going to need to go and find the vertex now. So, steps for finding vertex. Step 1. We're going to find axis of symmetry. Which is halfway between two x values with the same y value. So the x-intercepts both have a y value of 0, so we can use those in this scenario. However, if we had 2 points where y was 3 or y was 6, we could have used those points. So we have x is equal to, we're going to add the two x values together. And then we're going to divide by 2. So looking at the one we have right now, we have negative 1 plus negative 6 divided by 2. And when we calculate that, we get negative 3.5. So that means our axis of symmetry is x equals negative 3.5. Now the next thing we need to do is we are going to need to find the y value for our coordinate. So, step 2, we're going to sub x value from step 1 into the original equation and solve for y. The original equation was y equals 2x squared plus 14x plus 12. So replacing all of our x's with the negative 3.5, we get y is equal to 2. In brackets, we have negative 3.5 and the squared on the outside plus 14 times 3.5, and that was a negative 3.5 plus 12. And what we find is that comes out to be equal to negative 12.5. Hey, so what that tells us is that our vertex is negative 3.5 from step 1, and the y value is negative 12.5. So this now tells us, here's our x, here's our y, that we are looking at our graph coming this direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So negative 12 and a half. So there's our vertex at negative 3.5, comma, negative 12.5. And so our graph comes down and up. So there's our graph, and it asks us for our domain and range. And as we look at that, we have the graph starts at negative 12.5 and goes up, so our range is going to be greater than or equal to negative 12.5. The graph keeps going up and sideways, so all these numbers as well as all those numbers will work. So we are looking at our domain being x is all real numbers, and our range is y is greater than or equal to negative 12.5. There we go. So we have now just sketched the entire parabola using algebra and not our graphing calculator to do it.